All right, so before I start, there's been a slight change in my process. This time you will not see a Photoshop recording uh, because I did not use Photoshop for this one. Instead, I've switched over and use Affinity Photo on the iOS. One of the reasons for that is I would kind of like an alternative to Photoshop. No specific reason. I would just like an alternative to Photoshop. Um, and I would like to have my entire process on the iPad. And Affinity Photo kind of offers that to me to an extent. It has some options that Photoshop doesn't have, and it has some options that Photoshop does have, and some are missing. But overall, everything I need is there. So, yeah, as I've said, I would like for everything to be on my iPad, and I'm still kind of playing around with the program. I'm still not 100% sure what I'm doing, and I never really recorded anything on an iPad, so there was no. I didn't feel comfortable really recording myself on an iPad with the Affinity Photo, especially since I don't know how to properly use the program, so there was a lot of clicking around or tapping around and figuring out what does what and how things work. So it would be a really weird process to look at because I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm opening up a lot of tabs just to see what's in there and stuff like that. And the reason I would like for my entire process to be on an iPad is because I really, really, really like the idea of a 13-inch tablet being my entire workstation. Like a lot of my colleagues from the Art Academy, they need an entire atelier. They need an entire room to make their paintings, and all I need is just a chair, a tablet, and maybe some Wi-Fi to play music in the background, and stuff like that. Just makes me happy. Like being fully mobile, being portable, being able to work from literally anywhere on a full professional scale is something I am really interested. Even though I'm basically a couch potato at this point in my life, I still like having the option of going wherever I want, whenever I want. So yeah, I'll probably look into recording my iPad as I use Affinity Photo. But yeah, not yet. I still want to get really comfortable with the program, and it is a little bit unusual. Like the entire interface changes based on what you want. If you go from painting to let's say selections, if you want the lasso tool, your entire interface transforms so that you could use the lasso tool, and then you have to kind of transform it back and stuff like that. But it works so far so good. I'm pretty happy with the program now that I figured out at least the basics of how it works, of how the program thinks, for lack of a better word. So yeah. So on to the unholy trinity that inspired this painting, and in no particular order, they're the coronavirus, the extreme metal music that I've been listening to for quite a while now, and Doom Eternal. So to start off, I'm going to kind of talk about the coronavirus. I've been listening to it. I've been listening to news about the coronavirus for quite some time. I mean, I've been listening to updates about it even when it was just in Wuhan, when the outbreak just started and people were trying to figure out what it was, and most people probably thought that it's probably going to like infect the streets in China, and then that's it. That's all that's gonna happen. It's not going to spread or anything like that. And now it's here, and yeah, I guess that's great. So I wanted for a while now to kind of make up my own fictional death metal bands and make album covers for them. And I was thinking like what could be the first one. I was playing with some kind of generic ideas in my head, and then I figure out like let's just do let's just make a death metal album cover for the coronavirus. I mean, why not? Like extreme metal music tends to have lyrics that are about like a deadly disease spreading through humanity, killing everyone, and violent stuff like that. So it fits in perfectly with the genre and the theme that it tends to depict sometimes. But one of my concerns would be kind of, is this a bit too insensitive? Is this a bit too controversial? Like, how would people react to that? Um, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized that no, this isn't really all that controversial. Um, I mean, for example, if I made a painting of the Grim Reaper, like nobody would care. Like somebody would think, "Oh, that's a cool painting." Someone else would hate it, but nobody would be offended by me painting the Grim Reaper. Maybe there are a few weirdos out there, but I wouldn't really bet on it. So I mean, if the aspect of death itself isn't a controversial thing to paint, then I guess just following the logic, a demonic reinterpretation of the coronavirus shouldn't really be that problematic. So yeah, my kind of thinking pattern behind it was I just kind of took that little cell of the coronavirus that everyone has probably seen at that point, and I just attached a skull to it, and then kind of the rest of the body emerged from it. And as I was painting, got this idea that maybe I could make the sky look kind of organic and as if it's vomiting some kind of weird liquid or something like that. So that it looks like the skies themselves are spreading the disease, which is kind of true, I guess. I mean, it's airborne, so there you go. Um, so yeah, it's a very very dramatic, almost kind of comical reinterpretation of the virus that's going viral right now, both on the internet and live. So yeah, onwards to the next point, and that is music. I've been listening to extreme metal, like starting with black metal and spreading out into other genres other similar genres as well for roughly 13, 14 years now. So yeah, I've been around the block, so to speak. And music has for a long time been a huge inspiration for especially for my fantasy paintings, which are 90% of my portfolio at this point, if not more. Um, and so I kind of thought, since I love the genre so much, I could do these fictional album covers to kind of more directly reflect the music that I like. And so far, I like the idea. I think this one turned out to be interesting, and I'm curious where I could take this later on. And I do plan to branch out into kind of another genre. Like the funny thing about me is that I like extreme genres of metal, and I also like music that's kind of cutesy, maybe a little bit emotional and stuff like that. So my current plan is to switch between these two, where I would do like like a death metal cover, and then right after that I would do kind of a chill, relaxing, cutesy music cover, and then I would just constantly jump in between the two. And my next painting is going to be exactly that. I'm doing like a really relaxing, chill album cover. And so, as for the name COVID 19, I thought about calling this band the coronavirus, but the more I thought about it, the more dumb it seemed. Like, it's kind of way too direct. And COVID 19, not as much. Like, at least the people I'm listening to online don't use COVID 19 as much. Most of them use coronavirus. So it's kind of more niche, I guess. I mean, that's a weird word to use, but hopefully you know what I mean. And another reason that I decided to use COVID 19 instead of the coronavirus is that for some reason, to me, COVID 19 sounds a little bit like Area 51. So it's kind of got that secret military feel to it. I mean, if you heard there was some like bioweapon called COVID 19, like that sounds believable. That sounds like a name that a bioweapon would have, or at least like a code name that it would have while it was in development or something like that. So it fits in perfectly. And as for the name, Unchained Perpetual Disease Cycles, like Unchained just it's kind of self-explanatory. It means that it's released up onto the world. And perpetual disease cycles, like a lot of people are anticipating that there's going to be another wave and maybe a third wave and stuff like that of the coronavirus incoming. So perpetual disease cycles is kind of a reference to those waves that could be coming. And the final third part of my inspiration, Doom Eternal. I'm not gonna lie, at first I loved this game, and then I hated it, and now I like it again. So my main issue is that I'm an MMORPG player. Like I'm used to running in circles and collecting rocks and plants for like hours on end. And Doom Eternal is nothing like that. It's a very intense game, and I knew that going into it. I've played Doom 2016. I finished that game either 5 or 7 times, like somewhere around there, and I've thoroughly enjoyed that game start to finish. But Doom Eternal is considerably more intense than that game. And one of the main reasons is that Doom 2016 kind of gave you a lot of abilities that feel like a get out of jail free card. A perfect example would be the chainsaw between the two games. In Doom 2016, like the chainsaw is, as I've said, a get out of jail free card. Like ammo is everywhere. You will not run out of ammunition if you can aim properly and you know what you're doing. But in case you mess up, in case you need the extra ammo, you've got the chainsaw. You can always fall back on that and get back into the game. And in Doom Eternal, the chainsaw isn't a fallback mechanic. It's the main source of your ammo, so you have to use it. You will run out of ammo. It happens quite often. Like I cannot tell you how many times I switched between four weapons, and all of them were literally low ammo or out of ammo. I remember recently I finished a fight and I literally had only one bullet left. Like that never happened to me in Doom 2016. So yeah, Doom Eternal does give you a lot of tools, like a stun grenade and stuff like that, but it doesn't feel like a get out of jail free card. Like these are tools that you have to master. Like the game is built around the fact that you have these tools, and the game fully expects that you utilize them to their absolute best potential. So like Doom 2016, I don't know if I can call it a relaxing game, but compared to the new one, it is a relaxing game, kind of. Like you can let your brain die for a little while and just play the game and just kind of enjoy yourself. And if you mess up, again, you have a lot of tools that you can fall back on in that game. But in Doom Eternal, it's like, no, this is how you play the game. These are your resources, and you have to figure out and utilize each and every single one of them. Otherwise, you're not going to have a fun time. And once you kind of accept that fact, the game becomes really, really good. And at this point, I have kind of figured out, I got a good feel for all the tools, and I know how to time them and how to use them way better than I did when I started. And it does kind of feel good to finally figure out how to dance in that game, so to speak. So yeah, the only complaint I would have is the Marauder.
Warning. Demonic presence threat level 5 entering main laboratory.
Opening the portal now.
I don't like the Marauder. I don't like him at all. Like the idea of just facing him again is just... It almost makes me not want to turn on the game again. Like I remember when I was listening to the developers and they said that the Marauder is supposed to be a monster that imitates player behavior, and that sounds exciting. But I would have like one critique between their statement and the end product, and that's that players don't block everything. Like players aren't invulnerable unless they're hacking or something, or they figured out a glitch, and that's what the Marauder does. He basically just blocks everything. And there are ways to kind of fight around this mechanic, but it's just not fun. Like he's the only mob in the game that kind of just ruins the pacing of it all. I feel like it. I hope he gets kind of nerfed, at least in the lower difficulties. I mean, I guess you can leave him, make him really tough in the higher difficulties, just leave him as it is. But in the lower ones, just maybe make him not have his shield up 24/7. Like that would be great. So yeah, we've reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Remember to wash your hands before you click that like button, and see ya.